What's up, everybody? Nick Powles, publisher of 1851franchise.com. Today, we have the privilege of bringing you another Meet the Zor, this time Fitness Premier. We'll get into the story coming up next. All right, Jason, question one, and I know your story, but question one starts guiding the entire discussion. But you tell us, how did you accidentally fall into franchising? Day one into franchising. Tell us that story.
Yeah, so right out of college, I got a unique opportunity to get involved in a health club right in our backyard in Chicago. And ended up having some real success early on. This is going back about 22 years. And we were able to grow that brand privately just through partnerships to around 35, 40 stores. And, there was some great success in there, and there were some big challenges and all that, right? So, going through that for about a decade and kind of seeing the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes from having your own private brand and what you would do different for the next venture really helped us think about franchising. And, at that point in the game, we had a good business model. It worked in a lot of ways. We tweaked it a few times. And so really my first formal setup of franchising was as a franchisee with Massage Envy. So we ended up in 2011, invested in 6 stores that we owned and operated. And we had a good decade run with them. And we were able to see how a larger brand kind of functions and operates, and kind of the good and the bad that come from being with such a large brand. So in 2016, we decided to formally start franchising our fitness concept, with at that point we were working on for about 17, 18 years.
Okay, so lots to unpack, and I'm going to add more color onto your story because I know it. So unpacking this, go back to day one of going into franchising. Do you have any idea that it was as in-depth as you do today? Like, if you go back, and was anybody giving you the guidelines of how franchising works?
No. I mean, a lot of it was just, especially when we had our own brand that we were just doing ourselves. So a lot of it was us, creating the systems and the processes from scratch and learning what worked, what didn't work, and then reinvent yourself. So we really went through, I think, just years of that, right? Just kind of reformulating what is now our Fitness Premier brand. So a lot of it was through just accidental trial and error, of what worked, what didn't work. And then when we were able to join with, a franchise brand that was doing it, that had a lot of infrastructure, a lot of systems, then we were able to really have a good comparison of that. Hey, we've done a lot of this ourselves organically over the last decade or two. And, here's how it gets formalized, and kind of marry those two processes up into kind of what we have now.
Well, I want to add another piece to your story. You've also been a franchise broker / consultant. So you've now seen what it's like to be a Zor, a Z, and a broker, which basically covers every aspect of how you get into franchising, especially in today's world. And if you think about that, even going into Massage Envy, in your sales process with them, I doubt there was any pause, let us educate you on what franchising is. And I think this is what I respect most about what you're doing with Fitness Premier, is you're taking a super hands-on approach to coaching buyers on what it actually means to be in franchising. Is that one of the biggest missed opportunities in franchising, that we just assume that people understand what it is when they really have no idea what franchising is?
Yeah, 100%. On the consulting side, we see people come in all the time that, are excited to get off on their own, do their own business, but really do need to be educated on kind of what are the pros and cons of marrying a brand for a decade or two, right? And there's a lot that goes into that. So we try to do our best to really take that process step by step with them. And on the health club side too, for sure. We know what success looks like in our industry. So we want to make sure that we do just as effective job as we can of making sure to find the right partners, make sure they're set up in the right markets to be as successful as it can be.
Go back to being a franchisee with Envy. I mean, you grew up a business and you exited it. That would be considered a success story when it comes to franchising. As you went through that, does that create the roadmap for what you want other people to accomplish in franchising? Get in, scale it, exit. Is that really the true pathway of successful franchising?
You know what? I think everybody might be a little just different when it comes to that. There's for us, the fitness is what we do. We love it. We love people. We love helping others. So this is something we've been doing for 22 years that I don't know if it has a shelf life for us necessarily. But a lot of folks, as we get into Envy, one of the big reasons that we ended up exiting that brand was just because it really hit a plateau, especially with labor forces and some of those things. So the business model itself just hit some real challenges that were pretty obvious to see. So I think it might depend on the brand and the scalability and how big you can build that business. And I think for every entrepreneur, every franchisee, life comes into play, their goals personally, professionally, and timing kind of all factor in, I think, to when someone might exit a brand. And for us, in our example, the timing was just right. Like we were able to get out just before COVID in 2019. I wish I could have said I had a silver bullet or a crystal ball there, but it was just, I guess, luck at that time. And I think everybody's scenario might be a little bit different, unique, but I think anybody who's getting in this is looking to build something of value to eventually potentially sell it someday, for sure.
Has it been challenging on your mind to be a part of a brand? Well, take Envy, where it ran into significant labor issues towards the point that you decided to exit. You saw there was writing on the wall for what you wanted to accomplish in the business, and you flipped the switch over to what you guys have done with Fitness Premier, where you've engineered scalable costs to get in, efficiency on the labor model, proof of concept. You've done everything right, and you've done everything right from a business model too, but the growth has been a little bit more slow and methodical than it had been at Envy. Is it hard to look at your business and be like, we should have crazy growth too?
Yeah.
Or do you struggle with that as an entrepreneur at all?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. When I look at the way we've thought about growth compared to some other brands that scale quickly, we've been very slow, organic, and steady of just really refining our systems and our processes. And we're operators too, right? There's a few locations in our network that we own and operate. So we're in the battle of making sure that the unit level economics work and everything is working as efficiently as it can be. And I think we're finally, we're really at the point now where we're looking to ramp up growth and scalability, across the regions that we're targeting in a really responsible way, I would say, right? Because we're not afraid to own the real estate in locations where we exist. We're not afraid to build them ourselves. So we take that very seriously when it comes to matching up a franchisee with their own opportunity.
Philosophically, if you look at broker community, and you and I have talked about this a bit, the reality is what the broker community has done a tremendous job at is they capture people that say, here's how much money I have, show me inventory of what I could buy. So very similar to buying a house in the sense that you go to a real estate agent. A broker works in a very similar way, that you say, how much money do you have? They say, I have $100,000 to invest. They say, here are the businesses that can make sense. And a real estate agent, I have $100,000 to invest. They say, okay, that's 20% down.
Sure.
Here's the houses you could buy. Now, the one disconnect, and I've been very loud about this, is that in franchise brokerages, they only show the brands that they have in their inventory versus everything. If you go to Coldwell Banker and say, I want to buy a home, they don't just show you Coldwell Banker homes. They show you all of the inventory, because the system's set up to commission no matter what inventory you sell.
Yeah.
And so now studying these brands that like the community that you're partially connected into is capturing people that say, I don't know what to buy. Here's how much money I have. It's an attack by the franchisor to say, well, wait, show us over here. With your pure understanding of franchising, what do you like? What don't you like? And what is the largest opportunity for franchising in the future?
Yeah, I think there's a real opportunity to, take a step back and, just become an ultimate educator, right? Like for us on the brokerage side, or matching people with the right fits, we really do try to understand what are their lifestyle goals that they want to see at owning the business, right? What are some of the things that they, income wise, that they want to see out of this? How much, how much they can afford to invest, how much they want to make, are all part of that. But, what do they want their life to look like with their kids or on the weekends? All that comes into play when it talks about getting a business up and running, in whether that's a brick and mortar or an at-home service business. So I think taking a step back and really just, doing what's right for that individual client is a real important factor, and not just overly stressing about getting the right commission for yourselves, your broker company. People are, we love people. People are looking for something that can propel them into the next chapter of their career or their lives in different ways. And I think it's really important to, take a step back and do what's right for that person.
I put this on the screen on a purpose because I want to flip into why Fitness Premier over anybody else and why now. Obviously, you're in a category that has a lot of options. Good options tend to eventually hit the snowball effect and grow very fast. So therefore, it ends up being limited opportunities for new blood getting into the system. But when you reflect on your business and you've seen so many different types of brands, what is your why now?
Yeah, for us, we've done, I think a really good job for our franchisees. We have turnkey back office support, including things like processing payroll and automating HR and accounting, doing a lot of the administrative tasks that really can pull somebody away from operating your business, leading and managing your team or driving culture in the community. For us, those are important things that we want our operators and franchisees focused on. So we take a lot of the back office administrative work off of their plate from the minute we say go. The other thing that we're really effective at is, and we learned this, going through some challenges probably 15 years ago, is just we're able to get a lot more members involved in other services in our facilities, probably better than most operators in our industry can do. So we get it right around 25 to 30% of a customer that comes in. They typically get involved in some other ancillary service that we can offer that can help drive results for them, whether that's nutrition, small group training, one-on-one personal training. And now we have a recovery suite that we've been adding locations. So we know that it's more than just about fitness. It's about, accountability, teamwork, helping create a roadmap to get you there. So we're super effective at that. That'd probably be our second secret sauce, if you will. For us, that drives multi-revenue streams. And now we're thinking about tech, right? Like how can we automate things through our kiosk at our front desk so that labor costs can be kept in check, but a location can still run efficiently. So there's some neat things that we're doing on the tech side. So those are probably a couple of things I think that kind of separate us from others that are out there in the industry.
Well, I'll throw one other that I see, and that's your ability to be the hero business in some smaller communities. That the way that you're selecting the real estate, you end up being maybe not the third place, but maybe the fourth place of where community is built, because there isn't anything like this in their markets. And so therefore you end up being a hero brand that can solve challenges there. And I think that's going to be part of the magic to your growth as you continue to inch closer to more heavily populated locations. You're going to have proof of concept, and the cost to get in and how much you can make is going to continue to be sound. And I think that's a very important piece of your sales vision.
Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out, Nick. Yeah, we try to be real, thoughtful when it comes to that. And yeah, the way we like to think about it is, we're experts in the, kind of tertiary, secondary market model, right? We can bring a lot of those first to that community, do a great job, and stay there for a long time. And as we grow and scale into other, suburban and more dense markets, I think the business model is just really ripe for it.
What's the vision for the brand in the next year?
Yeah, so again, aggressive but responsible scaled growth is what we call it. So our target right now is, 50 stores open in the next 36 months. Right now we're at 20. So we have a good trajectory of what we're doing in the fran dev marketing size. We're also excited about acquisition opportunities. So we don't mind acquiring existing facilities and rebranding them and placing a franchisee or an operator in those type of facilities. So yeah, our target right now is to get 50 open in the next 36 months. And we feel like our back office team and we're set up to do that real well. So
does the acquisition strategy, is that another point of the why now? Because, you've built out a successful version of how do you retrofit an existing business to align with some of the things that you're doing, even from technology standpoint or wellness standpoint. Is that a part of the why now too?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's a lot of independent operators out there that either, are maybe looking to get out of the business now that a lot of the COVID ancillary funding is over, right? And a lot of those funds have run dry. So there's plenty of independent opportunities. So if there's plenty of markets throughout the U.S. that we're actively working right now to talk to those independent club owners and said, hey, we'd love to make a friend. We'd love to either maybe buy you or partner with you in some way to add some different systems and leadership to what you're already doing, you've already created. So we've done that successfully quite a few times. So that's definitely part of the recipe that we like.
Yeah. Well, and I continue to supplement your answers, but I'm gonna throw this on here too. I think, and you're a humble guy. You don't take credit for these things, but the eye of a franchisee, and frankly, the eye of a franchise consultant, those two eyes, as it relates back to this business, means some of the decisions you're making as a franchisor are taking that into account. You were with arguably one of the most highly touted success stories of the last 20 years in franchising and Massage Envy. And so you were able to see what you liked and what you didn't like. And by cross applying that into your franchise, now that's going to be a benefit back to franchisees. So I often think some of the strongest franchisors will be the franchisee to franchisor. In your scenario, you're more like franchisor to franchisee back to franchisor. But I think that lens gives you a very interesting philosophy when it comes to franchising that is deeply beneficial back to a franchise buyer.
Yeah, it really, it puts in perspective, right? Like we're in those shoes every day. So we have really good intuition and insights of how they're feeling when we are in a room and making certain decisions on certain policies or procedures or costs, the way we communicate. We try to really factor that because we've been on the receiving end of all that stuff. So we definitely, take that stuff super seriously and take it to heart and just try to do the best job we can. And at the end of the day, for us, it's really about the relationships you have, right? With the team on the ground, with the franchisees and within our office. So we try to take the culture stuff real seriously and do the best job we can.
Let's close with this because I'm curious what you would say to a candidate. Is there a question if you're buying Fitness Premier and you're a franchise buyer? Is there a question that you think the candidate should be asking? And frankly, it could be for any brand, period. But is there a secret question that helps open up, whether it's a culture fit for that franchise buyer?
Yeah, I think the most important thing, outside of the basics of, hey, how much does it cost to get open? How much money can I make? And the item 7, item 19 stuff, I think that all is kind of a standard of what people should think about and look at when they're exploring a brand. I think beyond that, it's tell me about your leadership. Tell me about how they are when you're winning. Tell me how they are when it's tough, or how were they throughout COVID, or whatever the scenario in that industry or business might be. Like, tell me the good and bad of how the leadership interfaces with you or the network. And I think that tells a lot, right? And not just the founder of the company or the owner company, but how the office team communicates and works through opportunities and challenges, I think sets the stage for that marriage really throughout that franchise agreement.
Yeah. Well, and just for clarity, you're still working as a franchise broker consultant, right?
We do still have an active arm. Yep.
Yeah. So to anybody that's watched this far, look, the reality is you have nothing to lose in reaching out to Jason, because even if Fitness Premier isn't the right brand for him, he's a wealth of knowledge on being a successful franchisee, and he's a wealth of knowledge on what should you be looking for in a franchisor, because he's helping people find those opportunities that might not align with Fitness Premier. And that's the cool thing I think about connecting with you, Jason, is you have again a lens on so many different things that you are someone that franchise buyers should consider connecting with. So appreciate our conversation as always. You're one of the good guys in franchising. For Jason, I'm Nick. This is another episode of Meet the Zor. Take care.